Reinhild Niebuhr. I'm the founder of the Young Africa Vision. Welcome to this episode of Young Africa Today. In today's episode, I'm going to unpack the strategic focus area of creating businesses at local level in the field of education. This is the Young Africa Education Strategy. Now, in order to really help Africa move from the current situation where the majority of people are really struggling because they have a lack of skills that are needed in the 21st century. I have I've identified really 5 principles of helping to upskill everybody across Africa, because that's really what we need. We need to help everybody around us to have more skills. And this is not just about formal training and education. This is really starting firstly with promoting a mindset of lifelong learning. I meet so many people that are in their 30s and then I say, but you can still learn something. You know, they are stuck in a pattern of low income. They are stuck in a pattern of subsistence, survival life. And then they say, no, man, I'm too old now. And I said, no, you are not too old. My sister got her PhD when she was over 50. The second one is around really helping people across Africa on a large scale to improve their English. This is something else that I really understood while running and being directly responsible for a non-profit organization working in the field of education for the past 17 years. And that is that the biggest challenge our children face is a lack of understanding of English language. And they are expected to complete their matric in English language. It really is a very, very difficult situation. So practically every child in Africa is expected to complete their high school education in a foreign language. I know in West Africa French is the predominant language, but French is not a global language in the same way that English is a global language. Everybody who speaks French needs to learn English as well. It's just the reality of the day. So that is for me a second strategy that really we need to help people to improve their English. Thirdly, it is about the extreme focus on the age group of 18 to 24. You will know from our previous episodes that I believe that this age group, 18 to 24, 200 million young people that are unemployed at this point in our country, in our continent, we need to focus on that particular group because they are open-minded, they are quick to learn, they are eager, they have a lot of motivation to make it in life. And so let's use that hunger for learning and train and teach these young people, because if we can get 200 million more people who are economically active and productive on our continent of Africa, the whole world is going to benefit. So let's partner across continents to help make sure that Africa's youth, which is so ready and so willing to learn, aged 18 to 24, can fulfill their potential. The fourth one is about really a business strategy of reaching every remote corner of Africa with quality private preschool and primary and high school education. And I will unpack that a little bit more later in this episode. And last but definitely not least, it's around really reskilling or upskilling everyone over the age of 24. Let me firstly talk about how are we going to promote a mindset of lifelong learning. My background is in strategic communication, so I was constantly having to design strategies for different companies and for different government entities and non-profit entities in terms of how to best communicate a particular idea. And in the past we would call this social marketing. Now social marketing is understood as something very different, so we can rather talk about impact marketing. But we really need to create a continent-wide impact marketing campaign that is encouraging a mindset of lifelong learning. That is the first thing. The second thing is that we need to mobilize, and this is something that the Young Africa Foundation will be striving to do, is to mobilize partnerships with public sector, private sector and the non-profit sector to focus on including this message in everything that they do. we have many good examples of impact marketing campaigns across the continent that have been extremely effective. And I remember that there was a campaign in Tanzania where a large company like Coca-Cola was working together with the government to put messages about certain key values that the country wanted to promote into the caps of the Coca-Cola bottles. This is the type of thing that we need to focus on. We need to make use of the resources that we already have. We need to look innovatively as business people. How can we package our message in such a way that we become a trusted brand, a valued brand, but at the same time have a positive impact on our communities in terms of the way people think? If we change the way we think, we can change our life. We need to change the way we think. And so if you are over 30 or over 40 or over 50, change the way you think. You are not too old to reskill, to upskill. All of us have to do so. And so really about changing, promoting a mindset of lifelong learning is going to be possible. We are going to be able to do it if we are going to work together on achieving this, not just in one country, not just in one region, across the whole continent. And then thirdly, I just wanted to again emphasize that Young Africa Foundation is a non-profit company that has been set up with a particular purpose of promoting certain ideas and of facilitating and enabling partnerships. This is not just another NGO. This is about creating an instrument that is going to achieve collaboration across the continent of Africa. And so please reach out, visit our website, visit youngafrica.info/education and have a look at the summary of what I'm talking here, and also find the fields of how you can contact us in order to start opening these conversations and start opening these discussions. The next principle that I believe that we need to adopt across Africa in order to help everybody in Africa upskill and retrain is the whole principle of creating opportunities for people to improve their English language skills. And so really, this strategy is really very much built on the previous strategy, which is around the mindset of lifelong learning. But in addition, I really believe that we can create opportunities for helping people to have access to resources so that they can improve the English language skills. We can, as churches, as church congregations, mobilize volunteers from among our midst to offer English reading classes, to offer English conversation classes in our buildings that are available and standing empty during the week. We can mobilize people who are already living in active retirement and who are healthy, who are still able to make a contribution to society. If you are over 70, you are valuable, you are important. You can take time to help somebody speak English. You can take time to help a group of people read English. You can do something. You don't just have to sit there wondering, when are you going to die? That's a horrible way of looking at life, and it's definitely not God's plan for your life. There are two things that everybody who does no longer need to work can do. The number one thing is you can pray for everybody else, and the number two thing is you can help everyone around you who needs to improve their English, actually proactively give them support so that they can do so. There's no excuse for our churches to just be empty during the week. There's no excuse for our churches not to become the leaders at the forefront of social change across our continent. There's absolutely no excuse. When Jesus lived his life, he lived it in order as an example to help us to understand what is expected of us. And he was teaching, the whole time he was teaching. And so if you know something, teach it. And if you know English, teach English. Don't just sit at home and wonder about what you're going to have for lunch. God is going to call you to account about what did you do with the last couple of valuable years that he gave you. Did you just sit and think about your own comfort? Or did you make an active contribution to society? I'm sorry if I get a little worked up about this, but I just see people who are living lives that are not contributing to society anymore in a way because they themselves think they are worth nothing. You are valuable. You are a prince or a princess of our Father Most High. You don't change that status just because you live longer. In fact, if you live longer, it means that God still wants you to contribute. He still wants you to make a difference. He still wants you to do something. So the Academy for a Young Africa is going to have a platform which is going to have resources for English language learning that are for free for everybody. I'm expecting this to be available from around September this year, just if I look at the timelines of the different things that have to happen. But from that time, anybody can register and make use of this platform. And if you want to teach people English, you can use that platform as a resource and just simply help them to go through the material, help them with the pronunciation, help them to correct the way they say things, help them to correct the grammar, and create opportunities for reading aloud. And the Academy for a Young Africa is going to link to a lot of free resources that are available on the internet already, and that can actually just simply be utilized and which have been created by generous people already. The Academy for Young Africa is an aggregator of materials to help achieve this vision of lifelong learning across the continent. And this vision of helping everybody across the continent to improve their English language skills. The third principle is around that we need to place extreme focus on our youth aged 18 to 24. This group has so much power, purely because they have power in numbers, but also because they have so much energy. And their whole life is ahead of them. They can really make a huge difference in terms of actually implementing all these different things that I'm talking about in all these Young Africa Today episodes. If people ask me, how are you going to do all these things? There's just too much for one person. I say, of course, it's not intended to be me that does this. I'm having this video series, I'm having this Young Africa television channel on YouTube in order to encourage you to get involved and you to do something that you can do so that we can build a beautiful continent that doesn't have to have people who get angry and are easily bribed to start destroying other people's property because they feel that they have that they are being disregarded. No, everybody should know that they are loved. You are loved. God loves you, and I love you, and you must accept the love of God in the name of His Son Jesus Christ to help you to understand that there is a better way. There's a better way of living. There's a better way of living, and let's teach that better way to others, and especially to our key fulcrum point group, which is youth aged 18 to 24. This is why I really set up the Academy for a Young Africa in the first instance, and I've developed a leadership and entrepreneurship program, which I will be introducing later this month and rolling out step by step in partnership with you. If you are an individual, or if you are a church congregation, or if you are a non-profit organization, or if you are an existing training business, reach out to me. Please, I'm inviting you. Make contact. The Academy for a Young Africa is looking for strategic partners to be satellite campuses. Now, don't get intimidated by the description satellite campus. All it means is it needs to be a place in your community where young people can come to get more information and to register for the Leadership and Entrepreneurship program. And you, as the owner or manager or facilitator of the satellite campus, need to identify a venue that is suitable in your community where monthly group meetings can happen for assessments, for evaluation, for feedback, so that the youth know somebody is caring enough to find out how are they doing. Did they do all their assignments? Did they struggle with something? And also to help them to develop group work assignments on a community level scale. Youth themselves will organize themselves. It's part of their training and leadership to organize themselves into groups You as the facilitator will help them in this process when you run the induction program, every time you bring on board new youth. And this is an ongoing process. There's no closing date for registration on the Leadership and Entrepreneurship program. Every day, new students can register. So every week, you can hold an induction session where you explain to the newcomers how the program works and how they must organize themselves into groups, and you give them the dates when the monthly evaluation sessions take place. And so the model has been built to serve that one satellite campus can serve 1,000 students. And in doing so, you can create 5 jobs for people to help make that possible. And the financing and funding model funds all of that, so that you have enough money to live a decent life while you are training young people, and or that your congregation can pay somebody to actually do the work, but you make available your facilities so that this work can be done. There's also in the financial model, there's also provision for paying a contribution to the use of the space and the facilities, to make sure that there is some benefit for the congregation in using the facilities. So please, I'm inviting you, reach out on the youngafrica.info/education website and send an email using the form that's available, so that we may start the conversation and that I may know that you are interested in becoming a satellite campus business, or starting it on your own, or that you are a congregation that's interested, or that you are an existing non-profit that would like to partner with the Academy for a Young Africa in order to set up satellite campuses all across Africa. The main focus of the Academy for Young Africa will be to market the opportunity of the Leadership and Entrepreneurship program, and also to train you how to use your networks in terms of social media to market the availability of the Leadership and Entrepreneurship program on an ongoing basis. I will spend a whole episode about the Leadership and Entrepreneurship program after I've completed talking about the 6 strategic focus areas of how we can create economy at local level. As I explained, today is the fourth. Today I'm talking about Young Africa education, and I will still be talking about Young Africa innovation and about Young Africa health and innovation, Young Africa health and Young Africa innovation. Today I'm talking about creating businesses at local level in the field of education. And the Academy for a Young Africa is offering you an opportunity to create a satellite campus as a business. You can also run it as a social enterprise, meaning as a congregation, church congregation, or as a non-profit organization, run it under a non-profit entity. But you can also equally run it as a business and make it your focus to help train our youth aged 18 to 24. This is not the limit, this is not the only group. Over time, as we move on, the Academy for Young Africa is going to introduce a lot more training programs, and also going to present leadership and entrepreneurship programs for women in particular, who would like to be entrepreneurs, who are already entrepreneurs and want to improve their skills. And for business people, in terms of a program called LEAD, which is around teaching leadership and entrepreneurship skills to successful business people, so that they can look at their business as a transformative instrument in Africa and see how can they use their business to transform the community in which they operate and the market in which they are serving. So these things are all possible. It's really exciting. So thirdly, as part of the whole strategy around rolling out the leadership and the entrepreneurship program, it's around incentivizing the students to recruit their peers. So in the costing model, there's also an incentive for students to earn money if they refer to other students. So instead of spending a lot of money on marketing, I really believe in word of mouth, and I am so excited that God has given me the software and the technology that I need to be able to have been able to build a system whereby somebody who's registered as a student can refer somebody else to become registered and be rewarded for that action. So watch this space. The Academy for Young Africa and the Leadership and Entrepreneurship program are at the root of the total Young Africa vision. And the youth that are going to go through that program are the ones that are going to start these businesses or work in these businesses. If you are the one, if you are older and you are the one that's decided to make this your focus to help create jobs using the strategies that I'm explaining in the Young Africa Vision series. The fourth principle of helping to upskill and reskill everybody across Africa is around making sure that we start with the children. We cannot afford another generation of children who do not have the skills they need to fulfill their God-given potential. We simply cannot afford that. We have to focus on making sure that our children have the education that they need to develop their skills and to develop their talents. Now there are really two main programs in this that have this objective. Today I'm focusing more on the private school side of things, but there is another program called Young Africa School, which is around supporting existing government schools all across Africa while creating opportunities for the students of the Leadership and Entrepreneurship program to provide services to the learners at the school, for which the parents then pay. This is one thing that I have realized is a parent that is committed to increasing the wealth of the family will understand to invest in the child and to put some money to help that child fulfill their potential, because in that way you can help create a family that is strong and wealthy. And so I've designed, through working for many years with a non-profit organization in education, and piloting and testing ideas of how to support the youth that were attending that particular institution to develop their skills in a holistic manner, not just focusing on the academics. And so by helping young people who are studying and going through the Leadership and Entrepreneurship program to provide these services to their local school, we are killing two birds with one stone. And that is where I'm really looking for support from grant makers to support the Young Africa Rewards program. But also, I'm also very confident that parents will be willing to pay for those services. And I'm so excited about making that happen. When it comes to the private school side, the strategy is to really work through the Young Africa investments instruments to start schools and preschools and childcare facilities as businesses on a franchise basis. I have developed a basic franchise model that can be replicated across all age groups. I have developed brands. The first one is Young Africa Baby, that's for baby care facilities. The second one is Young Africa Kids, that's for children, childcare facilities for children aged 2 to 4. Then we have Young Africa Play School. This is for children who are getting ready to enter school. So this is for school readiness programs. In some countries this is known as grade R, but it's also the year before grade R. So that is really from 5 to 7. Then we have Young Africa School, which is really for children in grade 1 to 6. And then we have Young Africa Middle School, which is for children from grade 7 to 9. And finally we have Young Africa High School or College. And this is the last 3 grades, namely grades 10 to 12. Now, these models, the financial models, work best if you work with no more than 100 children. It works best because then you have the most personal attention, but you also can afford to pay the minimum income that I believe any human needs. So the idea is that every educator working there will earn at least $1,000 a month. And any administrator working there will earn at least $1,000 a month. anyone working in the kitchen and preparing the food, although there's different ways of doing that, and I actually really believe that there is ways of doing it in a much more efficient way, so that it's not the school's focus to cook food, but that we have catering service businesses in the area that provide the food. And the people working there can also make an income of $1,000 a month. So the whole financial model is built around this principle of making sure that people earn enough to have a decent life and a decent living. There are two curriculum options that form part of the Young Africa education franchise model. The one curriculum is a curriculum that is accredited by the Independent Examination Board of South Africa. This is a really good basic curriculum for schools that can be used anywhere across Africa and will offer a matriculation that can be recognized in other countries across Africa. The other one is a more expensive option, and that is the International Baccalaureate curriculum. That has its own costing model, and it depends on the area where you live, and it depends on what your preference is, whether you want to use that curriculum for your private school. But that is also the one where we then talk about where we talk about the college in terms of completing the International Baccalaureate as a qualification at the end of the school. The benefit of this is that it allows students to easily register at international universities, some of the top universities, because they all recognize the International Baccalaureate. So it really depends on the model that you want to introduce. The rest of the model, of the financial model, is not different. There's no particular difference between the two models. The Young Africa school model is modular, which means you can choose a basic model with its financial model, and then you can upgrade and expand over time possibly, or from the beginning, and of course adjust your pricing structure accordingly. That there's a basic financial model. The basic financial model says that in general we work on having 2/3 of full paying students and 1/3 of subsidized learners that can get a part scholarship. Everybody has to pay something, but in order to make sure that we don't leave behind those who really cannot afford private school education, I believe that we need to make available a model. And this model works. It's been proven all over, and this is the model that our franchise-based Young Africa school businesses will focus on, and that is that you have 2/3 of full-paying students and 1/3 of subsidized students who can receive a scholarship based on the income from their family. The second thing is that the Young Africa Foundation is going to mobilize grant makers locally and internationally in order to help fund children who cannot afford the full fees. So the model itself is there so that the full fees are not necessary for 1/3 of the learners, but in addition we are also going to help raise funds through the Young Africa Foundation and mobilize grant makers to fund children who are really not able to make any contribution but who need support. And that is really something that we can do in partnership with any school, any private school that's already in, any non-profit organization that's already working in the school sector. If you want to join the Young Africa School model as a franchise, please reach out to me. Let us relook at your model that you're having. I was responsible for a non-profit model that was fully dependent on grants for many years. And I realized that it is not a sustainable model. You absolutely have to have a mix of paying students and of supported students. You have to focus on that mix. So if you have lots of kids in your community, if your school is full of children with grants that are dependent, if your school is already full of children who are dependent on grants, increase your school. Make it bigger. And these are things we can talk about through the Young Africa School franchise model. Principle, which is about reskilling and upskilling everybody aged 24 and over. I think that this is sort of almost automatically happening as part of number 1, which is around promoting a mindset of lifelong learning. Number 2, helping everyone to improve their English. But then the Academy for Young Africa is going to be a continent-wide instrument that's going to promote any private training service providers courses and any kind of training opportunity that is available. So the Academy for Young Africa is really going to become an immense resource for anyone who wants to offer a training course and who wants to expand their training to other areas across Africa. So I don't have time to talk more about it in today's episode. It's a whole episode on its own that I will unpack in future when the time is right. But for now, I just wanted to say, there's hope. There's hope for Africa. There's hope for Africa if we work together to improve the skills of every single person that is living here. And for the first time in the history of humankind, we actually can do it because God has given us the technology